Michigan are confident this will make its way to the president's desk, and very soon.
This can happen quickly. The president will sign this by the end of the week. That IRS has done.
The proud kid of the Bay Area of who we are in this region of the world, because we are always, I think, committed to seeing what is possible and then charting a course to get there. So thank you all very much. Today we are joined by members of our administration and leaders of this great state, including our governor, Gavin Newsom, and Mayor of Oakland, Libby Schaaf. We are also joined, of course, by many of our private sector space partners.
Now, as gas prices dipped to just under the $4 mark for the first time in more than 4 months, good news for consumers who are struggling with high prices for many other essentials. AAA said the national average for a gallon of regular gas was $3.99. Prices have dropped 15 cents in the past week and 68 cents in the last month. The shopping app Gas Buddy reported the national average was already down to around $4 on Wednesday. The nationwide average for gas has been under $4 since March, and according to AAA, prices topped at around $5 a gallon on June 14th. Now, people driving in California and Hawaii are still paying above $5, and other states in the West are paying close to that. The lowest gas in Texas and several other states in the South and Midwest. A year ago, the nationwide average price was around $3.20. So high prices may also be causing U.S. people to drive less, and gas demand in early August was already down 3.3% from the last week. Folks, big news, President Biden is meeting with top lawmakers to discuss a new executive order that may be passed in just a few weeks. Millions of people can expect to receive extra stimulus checks very soon from the federal government, and lawmakers are discussing new requirements as well as income thresholds for this new round of relief. Across the country, states are providing stimulus checks since the federal government has failed to act, but the rules for getting this money can be more complicated. In fact, unlike the federal stimulus checks, which were broadly issued to most Americans, some payments coming from the states have more narrow eligibility rules, and eligibility residents may be needed to take additional steps to claim this money. In one state, for example, payments of up to $1,500 per person will be available soon, but only to those who worked during the heart of the crisis. And those who are entitled to these payments must register. According to new reports, the state of Minnesota is offering relief bonuses to people who worked when the crisis was at its peak. A total of $500 million has been allocated, and the money is expected to be distributed to as many as 700,000 workers, including meatpacking professionals, janitors, and teachers. Eligible residents also must have not received more than the 20 weeks of unemployment benefits. Now, if you meet the criteria to receive this relief check, I suggest that you register to receive these bonus checks soon. Minnesota governor is also urging Republicans to return to sign off on sending $1,000 checks to people in Minnesota as the rising prices of gas, food, and everything else eats away at people's paychecks. The state is sitting on about a $7 billion budget surplus. Under Governor Walz's proposal,
among others, it is one of the most consequential bipartisan achievements of this Congress. It didn't come overnight. This has been a long time coming, but something that's so significant as this often takes a long time to come, particularly when it deals with the more arcane areas of science like quantum computing and artificial intelligence. Crucial that we stay the leading country in the world in those for our future, but not on the tip of everybody's tongue. It did, as I said, in 2019, I approached Senator Todd Young with a proposal that we called Endless Frontiers. And I said, let's work together, because I knew he cared about this. We had talked about it in the gym, about science and innovation. So we drafted the first iterations of of the policy that we're passing this week, the Endless Frontier Act. Later on, we joined with Senators Cornyn and Warner to push for the CHIPS Act as part of the NDAA to address
doing here. Further, according to a recent University of Chicago poll, a strong majority of Americans believe that the government is, quote, corrupt and rigged against me, end quote. That is how people perceive the government. Further, according to a recent USA Today poll, a very strong majority no longer believe that the Democratic or Republican parties are responding to their needs, and we have to move away from a two-party system to a multi-party system. And most frighteningly, there is a growing number of Americans who actually...
Huge progress is being made on the fourth round of stimulus I know many of you are wondering who exactly will be receiving a brand new stimulus payment this month. While lawmakers have confirmed new details, including the new eligibility requirements that Americans have to meet in order to receive these extra checks. Now, when the crisis first began in March 2020, commerce shut down in the United States. Only essential businesses stayed open. Some with office jobs were able to work from home, but millions of people lost their jobs, sending countless American households and business owners into a financial panic. The government enacted stimulus programs to help small businesses to pay their employees, to revitalize restaurants, and to support restaurant venues forced to close. There are other programs that were created to help households pay their rent, mortgage, and some other housing expenses. The good news is that there is still money available. Governor Tom Wolf and the state's Democrats are still pushing for stalled proposals to get $2,000 payments to most Pennsylvanians, though Republicans argue it will worsen inflation, which stands at 9.1%, highest it's been in 4 decades. Both senators and representatives plan to support bills which will pay back the Pennsylvania Opportunity Program that features the $2,000 checks. Wolf first made a $1 billion proposal in February, and part of the proposal were the $2,000 checks to Pennsylvanians making $80,000 less. Governor Wolf recently said he's still hearing directly from so many people about how much this program would mean to them and their families. Several lawmakers agree with Governor Wolf, arguing families need the funds due to financial woes the crisis and inflation have caused. One lawmaker told reporters, friends and neighbors are still struggling to stabilize budgets and rebuild savings. The crisis also led many workers to rethink career goals and consider new jobs that foster better work-life balance. House Republican spokesman Jason Goatsman agrees with the Republican-led General Assembly that inflation will worsen with more stimulus payments. He told reporters it was Governor Wolf who abandoned this idea during budget negotiations to achieve other priorities, and he knows it belongs on the cutting room floor since it will only lead to increased costs on Pennsylvanians by continuing to drive inflation.
Senator Scott voted against the recent Democratic proposal called the Inflation Reduction Act. One reason, Governor, is it won't reduce inflation. But this bill, I think, is a nightmare for South Carolina. It's a nightmare for the American economy. And I could spend hours talking to you about it, but I won't. I'm going to talk about a couple provisions that I think are just tone deaf and ill-conceived. Believe it or not, this bill has a new gas tax. So I want to just suggest something, Governor. Go around the state and ask people, would you like a new gas tax? I think they'll say no. So what does this bill do? It imposes a new gas tax of 16.4 cents per barrel on all imported oil at a time that we're becoming more dependent on imported oil. Remember, the president went to Saudi Arabia urging them to produce more. So every barrel coming from overseas has a new tax.